All right, so what we want to do now is evaluate these expressions. Now, I do want to give you a heads up. Your calculator will do these, okay? You can put 81 to the 1/4 power in your calculator. When we get into a little bit higher classes, math classes, it might be helpful to actually know how to do these in your head because it'll go a lot faster. So let me show you how this works. A lot of times it's easier to think of them as radicals, so I'm going to rewrite 81 to the 1/4 as the 4th root of 81, okay? So I'm thinking, what number times itself 4 times will give me 81? And the answer is going to be 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is in fact 81. And again, your calculator will do that as well. Okay, let's take a look at number 11. 11's got something kind of neat that happens with it. Again, you can put 8 to the 5/3 in your calculator. It's going to do this problem. It's going to give you the answer just fine. But we can do it another way. We can rewrite this as the cube root of 8. Oh, let me write that so you can actually read it. How about the cube root of 8 to the 5th? Now, I really don't want to do 8 to the 5th in my head. I don't even want to get my calculator out because that's a really big number. It does not matter which order you do these in. So you can do 8 to the 5th and then take the cube root, or you can take the cube root of 8 and then raise it to the 5th power, which is what I'm going to do because I know the cube root of 8, what number times itself 3 times gives you 8, is going to be 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So the cube root of 8 is 2, and then I'm going to raise that to the 5th power, which is 32. All right, let's take a look at number 13. Very similar problem. I'm going to rewrite it as a radical, so it's the cube root of negative 64 squared. I do not want to do negative 64 squared. That is too big. So what I'm going to do first is the cube root of negative 64. So what number times itself 3 times gives you 64? And the answer is negative 4. And then I'm going to square that. So the answer is 16. All right, let's take a look at 15. So this, I'm going to rewrite this. It's the cube root of 125 over 216 squared. And it does not matter if that square is underneath the radical or outside of it. I'm going to prefer it outside of it because I don't want to do 125 squared or 216 squared because that's a huge number. So what I'm going to do instead is the cube root of 125, which is just 5. The cube root of 216, which is 6. And then I'm going to square that, which is going to give me an answer of 2536. All right, we'll do one more in this video before we move on to something else. Let's see. We've got a lot going on here. The first thing I'm going to do is, you know what, I'm going to get rid of negative exponents. Do you remember how to get rid of negative exponents, we move it down to the denominator? So this is 25 to the 1/2 over negative 65 to the 1/3. Okay, so that's how we get rid of negative exponents, is we drop the whole thing, the whole problem down into the denominator, which is what I did. Okay, let's rewrite these as radicals. 25 to the 1/2, that's the square root of 25 to the 1st. And negative 64 to the 1/3, that's the cube root of negative 64 to the 1st. Now, the square root of 25, that is no problem. That's just 5. And the cube root of negative 64 is negative 4. So my answer is negative 5/4.